Hi everyone, so I am here to talk about something so exciting as the new Double Wear, no, that's the old Double Wear, new shade in the Estee Lauder Double Wear line. So they recently came out with a new fairest shade, and I saw a swatch on probably Reddit that showed this compared to the Cover FX Power Play in N0, and they were very similar. And this is one of the fairest shades that I have, so that was pretty exciting. So I went ahead and bought it from Ulta. They had like a 5 times points, so great time to make a purchase. If you're not going to get a discount, at least you get extra points, which translates to cash. So I have a whole bunch of swatches, 14 foundations, I believe, that I wanted to compare it against. So I do also show it how it compares to the 1C0 in Shell, which was the fairest foundation that they had available in the US only recently. They also had one N0. This is 01N. It's confusing. The jump between Alabaster to Shell is pretty big. So you can see the previous lightest shade, because even before then it was like 1N1 or 1W1 was the lightest shades, and those were so dark, so dark. So I'm really happy that they came out with a new very fair shade comparable to many other very fair shades that are available these days. And it's just one of those formulas that I've really wanted to be able to wear without having to do massive amounts of fiddling with the color, because it's kind of like a classic within the beauty community. So that's what I have on my face today. So let's go ahead and just look at the swatches right now, and then we can talk about them a bit. All right, guys, so I have a ton of swatches here. My arm is tired. Idun Minerals Nordic Veil in Jorunn, Estee Lauder Double Wear in 1C0 Shell, Estee Lauder Double Wear in 0N1 Alabaster, Too Faced Born This Way in Cloud, Colourpop No Filter Foundation in Fair 05, Cover FX Power Play Foundation in N0, Flesh Firm Thickstick in Meringue, Fenty Pro Filter Soft Matte in 100, Too Faced Born This Way in Swan, Marc Jacobs Shameless in Y110, NARS Sheer Glow in Siberia, Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless in 102 Fair Porcelain, Maybelline Superstay in 102 Fair Porcelain, and Revlon Colorstay in 110 Ivory. This is what they're looking like now, a little bit more dried, so you can probably see I think the Revlon and the Superstay Maybelline have gotten a little darker as they dried. And also I think like the Sheer Glow and the Marc Jacobs, they also darken a little bit when they dry. I feel like the Estee Lauder, probably the Shell shade also probably got a little bit darker. I mean, it looked quite a bit darker to begin with, but yeah, so that's where we are with that. So the color on it, I would say, is very similar to things like the Cover FX Power Play in N0, the Colourpop No Filter Foundation in Fair 05. This is probably my best color match. When I go looking back at pictures and videos and whatnot, whenever I find one that I think, wow, that looks so much like the color of my neck, like I look at this and look at that, and it really seems to be about the same. It's always this one. I have a terrible time getting this to wear well on my face, but the color on it does work well for me. Also, since I swatched it right next to, I got a sample of the Too Faced Born This Way in Cloud, the new lightest shade in that formula. They're similar. They don't have the exact same undertones, but it's definitely similar. I feel like the Estee Lauder is a tiny bit more yellow, whereas the Too Faced is a teeny bit more like peachy pink, a little bit. But they're like depth-wise the same, I would say. And they don't have super strong undertones. So I think that it's going to be a little bit more workable for a variety of people. Also like the Fenty Pro Filter Soft Matte in 100. Drugstore wise, probably the best color match would be the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless in 102 Fair Porcelain. I think this probably dries a tiny bit darker. I was a little surprised, happily surprised, that this doesn't oxidize too much when it dries, so it doesn't get a lot darker. Matte foundations have a tendency to go pretty dark when they dry, and that's why I always prefer swatches that have had quite a lot of time to oxidize and dry down, if possible. Today's were like mostly dry, but not completely dry. Other things that change quite a lot when they dry down, the Maybelline Superstay in 102 Fair Porcelain starts out looking quite light, but it does dry a fair bit darker. And the Revlon Colorstay in 110 Ivory also darkens quite a bit. So I just wanted to include some of those just to give you an idea of like some fair options at the drugstore, how it compares, how things look when they're wet versus dry. So I would definitely say it's a neutral undertone and has a little bit of a yellow, kind of a hint of yellow to it. I definitely gravitate towards the yellow undertones because that's what color I am. But also it helps with the redness. So in the demo, I think you'll see that I kind of struggled a little bit in order to cover up like the redness in my cheeks and on my chin. And I felt like my chin was looking really pink, which is something that I've also encountered with things like the Cover FX Power Play and N0. And what I thought I'd try is trying to build up the coverage more so that that pink isn't like glowing through that kind of all that white foundation. And making it kind of look pink. So I tried putting a little more coverage on there to see what would happen. It built up pretty well. I also zoomed in really close so you can see how it's sitting on my face. I'm 38 years old. I have combo skin. My cheeks are dry. My T-zone is oily. Foundation tends to settle into my pores. And my skin is not super smooth and tight and firm. It's, you know, a little saggy. So things that are like really matte and dry and powdery looking can be very aging around this area especially. And I wasn't sure how like building up the coverage on my cheeks and my chin would work, but those two places are relatively smooth for me. So unless things settle into my pores, I generally don't have a whole lot of issues with things sitting nicely there. The wear time is where I have challenges on my chin, but things have a tendency to get patchy. I feel like I've been talking without breathing. You may be able to hear the baby is on the bed behind me, so I feel like I need to just try to get something out before I really need to deal with him, because it's like kiddo nap time and he's not napping. So this one is like right on the edge of being too light, not enough yellow for me. So I do have a couple yellow mixers and I'm sure I will try those at some point. I just got this one from e.l.f. It's the Mix to Match Undertone Adjuster, and this is in golden. And I also have the Makeup Forever Chromatic Mix, and this is in yellow, and it's the water-based one. I find that these two are pretty much the same, and so I'm curious about trying out. Color-wise, they're the same. Formula-wise, I think they're different. I'm sure the e.l.f. one is silicone-based, whereas the Makeup Forever is water-based. Though I have never had issues with it doing weird things to my foundation, but something to keep in mind if you use something like a yellow adjuster or a red adjuster is that it may darken your foundation because you're adding, I mean, it darkens your foundation. So I find that I can only really use that on the very, very fair foundations that I have. Otherwise things will go too dark. I feel like from the side, it looks like it matches quite nicely. From straight on, I don't like the look of foundation that's too light on myself. Like I see it on other people and it doesn't really bother me, but on myself, I really don't like the way it looks when it's too light. And I feel like it's right on that edge of being too light for me. So I would also kind of experiment mixing in some of my more yellow foundations, things like NARS Sheer Glow and Siberia. Since I would only probably mix in a little bit, hopefully it wouldn't impact the wear and maybe it would make it a little more comfortable to wear. I don't know. Also, I would think about mixing in the NARS, what is it called? Natural Radiant Longwear in Gobi. That has very strong like olive undertones, and I like it for mixing in with things that are a little bit too neutral, too white neutral for me to really, I think, mesh well with the rest of my body. So I don't have a huge amount of stuff to talk about as far as how it wears on my face. I wore it many years ago in that really dark shade, a fair amount, probably about 5+ times. And my skin was very oily in the past. I did not find it to wear amazingly. I was kind of underwhelmed at the time, but I've done things to hopefully extend the wear, get the best wear I can out of it, knowing what I know now and having my skin be less oily. So today I'm trying out the Hourglass Veil Primer, and I also set some areas that tend to get oily with the Laura Mercier loose setting powder in translucent. I would say it feels a tiny bit drying. I did not set my cheeks. My cheeks are much more dry, and there's a certain amount of tightness that I feel throughout the day, kind of comes and goes, but in a way it's kind of weirdly reassuring because I feel like my face is locked in. Like it's not moving, there's no budging, there's no like, if the baby touches my cheeks, I don't feel like he's gonna come away with anything on his hands. I feel like I can touch my face and not worry about things transferring. There's something very reassuring in the way it feels on my face. Like I feel like it's good. I don't have to worry about it. What time was it? 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock. It is 2 o'clock right now. So I mean, technically we could do like a 4-hour check-in right now. I feel like it's looking okay. This is where I put a lot more foundation than I normally do on my chin. Uh-oh. Let's see. I don't think it's settling into my lines. It does look a tiny bit cakey throughout here. Tiny bit. Looks a little makeup-y, but not the worst, quite honestly. Oh. So this is baby number 3, Jack. He is 4.5 months old. He's really cute. He looks so much like my first baby, if you remember baby Colin from some of my older videos. Baby Colin is now gonna be 5 soon. The sweet little boy. He was an easy newborn, but things have gotten a lot harder since he's gotten a little older, which is funny. But we're doing it, right? We're doing it. He's also huge. All right, so it's been 9.5 hours. It is 7:30, more or less. And I'm really happy with how it looks. 9.5 hours, I haven't blotted, nothing. I've done nothing. And I feel like it's looking really good. Let me take a peek. Oh yeah, I see you. I'd say on my chin it looks the same, which is good. Not great, but it looks okay. See, there's kind of it's just looking a little strange around here. Now this line, no settling. Looking okay. This line, creasing, settling, whatever. Like all the way up here, all the way down. And actually down through here, which is different. And I have not blotted at all. So, and I'm really not very shiny at all. just like a little sheen. This is definitely better than what I experienced yesterday. Look at, I feel like it all looked pretty good around this area. These are not my problem areas. My forehead always tends to look okay. There's this spot up here that can get a little funky, but I think I've been doing some beneficial skincare up there, so it hasn't been so much of a problem. My blush and highlight are still going strong. Can see a little, you know, oil coming through here, but I mean, really, not bad at all. Upper lip looks a little cakey. It probably has for a while. But not, I mean, really pretty minor quibbles. And I would say with this lighting, it really exaggerates those situations. So I would say overall, it's looking really good. I think the creasing may be, let me see if I can like pat it out a little bit. So yeah, I was able to kind of smooth out that creasing. Most foundations, if I smooth things out before I blot, then it's like you can fix it. If you try to blot first, yeah, I still have some lip liner on. It does not work because then it's all dry and just doesn't move around. So I did use the Clear Cover SPF 30 from CoverFX, which tends to make my foundations a little bit more dewy. Yesterday I used, was it yesterday? No. Day before I used the Milani Prime Protect SPF 30, which I have liked when my skin is dry. Just knowing that the double wear tends to be a little bit drying on its own. And this, it got kind of patchy and funky early, like within 8 hours. Then yesterday I used the CeraVe AM SPF, and it was definitely more dewy looking. At 8 hours, it was quite shiny. It looked good, but it was shiny. And so today I used the CoverFX Clear Cover SPF 30, which tends to get, foundations tend to get kind of extra dewy on top of that with my current state of my skin. But I also used the Veil Primer, and I'm gonna try this out with a different SPF underneath and see how that works. So yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised. There's not much oil on this blotting sheet. That's not bad. And being that it's almost 10 hours, that's quite nice. So I have a feeling that this is a primer that's gonna work well with this foundation. So anyway, to wrap things up, because I know this video got awfully long, it's just I wanted to talk a lot about the colors of the foundations, so hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. I will link my foundation playlist, which has a ton of swatches, demos, get ready with me's, all about foundation. Let me know if there's any foundations that I swatched here that I don't have a review of that you'd like to see. I have a review coming up for the Alima Pure Cool One Satin Matte Mineral Powder Foundation. I actually recorded that a little while ago, but I was just so excited about the double wear, I wanted to do this video first. And so I have reviews on the Colourpop CoverFX Flesh, Fenty, Sheer Glow, Superstay. I have most of the things I swatched. I do have a review, but I don't have the Marc Jacobs Shameless. I have not done a review for that. I only have, I think, one use left of that foundation, so I may save it to do a review in the near future. Yeah, so I've got a lot of foundation stuff. So if you want to see more foundation on Very Fair Skin videos, subscribe. I do a lot of them. And if you have anything else that you'd like me to talk about, I also have like concealer swatch videos. Yeah, so I hope that was helpful. I hopefully did not forget anything. I feel like I've done a lot of talking about just one foundation, but I thank you so much for taking the time to watch these videos and leaving a comment, a like, subscribing, all that stuff. It helps me out. It makes me happy. I really appreciate it. And I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. I mean, I knew that he was going to be waking up soon, but